Steeler Nation, we are less than 1 month away, 1 month's time from the new league year beginning and the legal tampering period starting. And the Steelers have officially made their first roster move of the offseason. This past Friday, they released veteran linebacker, the guy they traded for at the trade deadline, Preston Smith. They cut him and saved $13.4 million. A no-brainer of a move. We all knew this was inevitable. This was the easiest decision the Steelers could have made all offseason in terms of a roster decision. And they have now started their roster moves. Let the moves begin. But what more moves could they make to create more cap space? Because the more cap space they make, the bigger splashes they can make in free agency. And we all know they need to be active, they need to be hungry, and they need to attack free agency at a number of positions and go grab some significant names to make immediate impacts on this team. They've already made moves, so more should be coming. But what could be coming, we'll discuss that in this video, man. But we want to appreciate you guys for watching us on another edition of the Steeler Culture Podcast, where we break down Pittsburgh Steelers football. This episode is powered by our friends over at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, Preston Smith has got cut, man.
Back at the trade deadline, they traded away a simple 7th-round selection. This was a no-brainer of a move. They saved $13.4 million with no dead cap. He was a healthy and active for the last 2 games. He was just basically another face on the roster that was no longer needed, no longer necessary. So the Steelers move on, and they're looking to make more cap space as we speak.
Yeah, this move saves, like we said, $13.4 million, and this puts the Steelers roughly now around $50 to $53 million in cap space, which is top 10 in the league. And they can create more. They can create as much up to $70 million in cap space if they make moves or cuts on some of these certain individuals that we'll be discussing in this video. So let's know your guys' thoughts down below. How do you guys feel about the move? Who do you guys think the Steelers should move on from? What restructures they should do? Anything else you want to discuss in regards to the cap space or the contract details? Maybe something about Minkah's contract or Highsmith's contract or Muse's contract. Put all that down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your guys' suggestions and your interactions as always. But moving on, man, huge shout out to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sponsoring with us on this video as we take a look. What do you think the Steelers should focus on first in the offseason? Now, there's a ton they need to focus on. I think a lot of you guys are going to say coaching, and that's exactly what they should do, but all that hope has been gone and way past us. So roster-wise, what do you think the Steelers should focus on first? Maybe a positional move, maybe someone they should trade for, maybe someone they should re-sign, particularly at the quarterback position, possibly. What move do you think the Steelers should focus on first? Let us know that in the comments below. And make sure you guys check out BetUS if you guys are looking for a new sportsbook for next NFL season, or if you guys are interested in any NFL future odds or perhaps any other sports around the sports world. BetUS has you covered. And when you use the promo code YouTube150, you can receive a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. And 125% on your next 2 deposits using that promo code right there to sign up and receive all the other bonuses. Not just this bonus, but if you guys are into casinos, BetUS has a casino. So if you're into slots or live casino deals, BetUS has a special offer for you. When you sign up, you could receive a 200% sign-up casino bonus up to $5,000 and a 250% crypto sign-up bonus up to $5,000 as well. So check out all these bonuses from our friends over at BetUS and get going with any of the casino fun or any of the NFL future odds. If you guys want to place a wager on how many wins you think the Steelers will have, or do you think will be comeback player of the year, maybe MVP, who do you guys think will win the Super Bowl? They got all those odds already up for you guys at BetUS, man. So a huge shout out to BetUS for sponsoring with us on this video. Just please gamble responsibly. The Steelers already made a move, like we mentioned earlier. They cut Preston Smith. That was the easiest move to make all season, or all offseason so far. But what more moves could they make? Some of these might surprise you. And believe me, I'm not exactly expecting these certain individuals to get cut. These are just ideas I think the Steelers should entertain, that they could entertain, and maybe they could find replacements in free agency, in the draft. They could get younger at certain positions, and maybe they want to go after a certain individual or certain individuals' positions in free agency. They need as much cap space as they're going to need.
Yeah, and I mean, like, before they released Preston Smith, they already had a good chunk of change heading into free agency in the offseason. Cutting and releasing Preston Smith just gave them even more comfort with that, but why settle for that? Why settle for just cutting Preston Smith and just going in with the money that you have right now? Why not create more?
I mean, why not, right?
More is better.
Well, considering they want to bring back either Russ or Wilson, or Russ or Wilson, same guy, Russ or Fields, one of them or both are going to cost somewhere around 10 to 15, maybe $20 million a year, depending on the market. We don't know. it's really hard to kind of eyeball their individual markets. They're going to cough up a certain amount of change each year. Maybe they resign Najee, maybe not. They might want to bring him back. They might want to extend certain individuals. They got other free agents they might want to bring back, maybe a James Daniels. We'll discuss that in a future video. But not only do they got to use that cap to resign certain individuals in their own free agency clan, they got to make some splashes. I think we all agree they need to be aggressive in the free agency. And they have the change right now to make certain moves. But again, why stop there? So Preston Smith was cut. And another guy we're going to look at, and you can see, man, they're already thinking about his replacement. They're already thinking about the future of the defensive line. It doesn't bode well for a guy like Larry Ogunjobi, who could be on the chopping block.
Yeah, I mean, he's entering the last year of his contract of a 3-year, $28.75 million deal that he signed 2 years ago. And he carries a $10.5 million cap hit.
And he is soon to be 31 years old. So he's getting up there with age. He always has had the injury concerns. Now, he's always been a solid player. The Steelers gave him a very deserving contract. And, you know, at this stage now, they're looking at defensive line heavy. There's murmurs. There's talks. It's a very high possibility they might take it very high in the draft, maybe in the first round. There's a number of guys they could go after. So they're already thinking about the youth, the future at the position. They want to get stronger. They want to get younger. They want to get faster. They want more interior push. They want more pass rush win possibility, interior. And we all know they need it. Defensive line is a serious need. They need someone to clog the holes. Larry Ogunjobi at this age and with his cap hit, he could be one of those guys that Steelers look at and say, hey, it's just business. We appreciate your contributions, but we might be letting you go. Keep in mind, Larry Ogunjobi is due a $3 million roster bonus on March 14th. So if the Steelers cut Larry O before March 14th, they will suffer a $3.533 million dead cap hit while still saving $7 million. Now, of course, if they cut him after March 14th, that $3 million roster bonus is added to the dead cap hit. So instead of 3.533, it would be 6.533.
Yeah, I mean, like, that would just be bad business on just waiting after March 14th.
And they would obviously save less. So if they're going to cut Larry Ogunjobi, I would expect it to happen within a month's time. I'm not saying he is going to get cut, but all eyes kind of point to, hey, maybe Larry O is on the move. Maybe he's going to be a free agent. The Steelers want to get younger. They got to, go after defensive line at some point. Maybe they use that cap space to make a huge splash at defensive line and still take defensive line high. I mean, saving $7 million for Larry O is a pretty decent amount. And that would put the Steelers particularly around $60 million. So that could be a move that could happen. I wouldn't completely be surprised by it if that were to be the case. Again, they want to get younger. They're going to attack the position in the offseason for sure. I could see a move that could happen.
Yeah.
Another name is Isaac Seumalo. Now, this is one I'm not particularly expecting because that would create another hole on the offensive line. He is earning one more year in his contract that he signed in 2023. 2 years ago, where he signed a 3-year, $24 million deal. So they could keep him one more year, keep the vet one more year, make sure his veteran presence is there, still remains on what is a very, very young offensive line. But it's also a possibility they could cut him. They could go after another individual to fix the left tackle position, or maybe they move McCormick back at left guard. They can move McCormick back at left guard and go after a right guard. In free agency, there's a bunch of names, plethora of names there that they could definitely bring in, or they could just stick with the vet. But you do want to get younger, and honestly, if you can find a way to upgrade the position, it's not a bad way to go. Isaac Seumalo, he's been a strong vet for the line, but he could be a guy that's on the move. Again, I'm not expecting it, but he does carry a $10.191 million cap hit, and he is soon to be 32 years old. So he's getting up there in age. He's due a $1 million roster bonus on March 14th as well. So if he's cut before that date, the Steelers suffer a $2.316 million dead cap while saving $7.875 million. Another decent amount.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to Seumalo, I would say his first year when he was a Steeler, I felt like he was a standout, one of the better offensive linemen we had that year as the left guard, coming from Philly when he was playing right guard.
Yep.
But last year, I don't know if it was just me or anybody else that may be watching, I wasn't thoroughly impressed with Isaac Seumalo. Now, I know he dealt with that, I think it was a shoulder injury that happened during preseason. He missed the first couple of games to start the season. I don't know if that was just a nagging issue with Seumalo and that affected his play throughout the rest of the season when he came back.
Right.
Maybe it's just his age getting to him. Maybe it's a combination of both. I have no idea. But I wasn't entirely impressed with Seumalo. But I could see at least a restructure for Sayamalu.
I could see it. It's possible. But if they want to move on, maybe they want to bring back James Daniels and put him at right guard and put McCormick back at left guard, where he played most of his time in college, right? Or maybe they make a splash, a decent little move in free agency. Maybe they cut Sayamalu and go get a guy like Tevin Jenkins from the Bears. Maybe a Mekhi Becton from the Eagles.
Yeah.
They want to get big. They want to get that bully mentality on the line. Those are two guys that would definitely do it, and I think they would be upgrades.
Yeah, and listen, I'm all for making the offensive line younger and even more stronger and more ruthless. I'm not saying Sayamalu's not ruthless. He's a fine offensive lineman, but, if there's a possibility and a chance to go out there and get a youngster that could be here longer than Sayamalu as you envision, I mean, you can't ask for a better possibility than that.
Well, the reason we bring up Ogunjobi and Sayamalu first within this discussion is because obviously the Steelers, their focus is building the trenches. That's why they drafted 2 tackles in the first round back-to-back years. They drafted Benton very early on, a couple years back. They're looking at defensive line heavy for this draft process. They did it at the Senior Bowl, and they're probably going to do it throughout the entire draft process at the Combine and Pro Days and visits and all that. I would highly anticipate that. Same thing could be said for the guard position. They want to get younger. They want to get stronger there. So if they might cut a guy like Ogunjobi, they might do the same thing for Sayamalu because they want to get stronger. They want to get younger, and that's not a bad way to look at it. They want to be more dominant in those areas, and you can't fault the Steelers for thinking that. So if they do make a move where they let go of an Ogunjobi or a Sayamalu, their input or their idea is to definitely improve said positions, to fix and build the trenches, add more youth, add more power. It's not a bad way to go. The Steelers are all about fixing the trenches. Andy Weil, Omar Khan, they have made it a massive thing for the past couple draft classes, and that's not going to change. So if they want to really build and get younger and set up for the future, those are ways to do it. It's nothing against Ogunjobi or Sayamalu. It's just they want to get more fresh. They want to get new faces in there.
Listen, at the end of the day, it's just strictly business. It's what Andy Weidel and Khan have a vision of. It's what they want to do. They want to get younger. They want to get stronger. They want to get more interior push for D-line. They want to get better at offensive line right there. I will throw it out there. There's a possibility that both Ogunjobi and Sayamalu could take restructures, and maybe they still go out there and get a guy in free agency or the draft and just have them sit under there because, when it comes to the Steelers coaches, they don't throw their rookies out there immediately, which is a very head-scratching thing for many, many years now.
Yep.
But, considering the continued cycle at that, it's something that I could see. I could see Sayamalu and Ogunjobi standing here for their last years and having the rookies just kind of sit under and play there because they don't like to throw their rookies out there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm all for, trying to better the team, trying to get the team younger, just build the foundation, build the future when it comes to the trenches.
I could see that. They could keep the long-term vets, well, not the long-term, but the short-term vets, and, they might want to build these guys up, and that's a fine way to look at it. But I look at it from a cap aspect and how they could really try to get better in the trenches, because those are the two ways the Steelers are going to win football, or that they're trying to win football, is building the trenches. And those could be ways to do it. They want to get younger at each position, clearly, and cutting those two might be possibilities. Not going to entirely expect it, but just throwing out the idea, and I would save the Steelers over $14-15 million in cap space by those two alone. So just going to throw it out there. Another name I'm going to throw out there. Now, this one I least expect, but it could happen. I don't know. Cole Holcomb. Some of you guys may have forgot about him. He signed with the Steelers a couple years back. He looked good in the first half of his first season, unfortunately, versus the Titans in Week 9 of the 2023 season. He suffered a very serious knee injury that took him out for 13, 14 months of action.
Yep.
He was out all last season. He was on the PUP list and IR all last season. It took him out all last season, and he didn't really see any time in practice until the very end of the season. That's it. Could the Steelers be moving on from his contract? I don't know. Now, I could very well see the Steelers honoring his contract and keeping him around and giving him his roster bonus and seeing where he's going to progress with a full offseason. Hopefully, fingers crossed, as healthy as he's going to be right now through this entire health process that he's going through, right? Last offseason, he didn't have a chance. He was still suffering from the injury, still healing. At least this offseason, he's as clear as he can be, and they might give him a full chance to be a very good rotational piece with Queen and maybe an Atlanta Roberts coming back, and of course a Peyton Wilson. They could keep that inside linebacker crew very stacked by keeping Holcomb. And let's say Holcomb isn't as healthy, or he doesn't come back near as what we want him to be, or what he was, prior to the injury. They could cut him and still save a similar amount, minimal loss. So the Steelers might honor him, like, hey, we're going to keep you. We're going to see how far you've progressed, how far you're along. And if we notice a drop-off, we're going to let you go later on, probably during maybe the final cuts of preseason. I could see that being the case. Or if the Steelers are in a bunch and they really do want to save cap space, they could cut Holcomb and leave him to be a free agent. The Steelers, they would save, I think, $6 million if they cut him. So it's not a crazy amount, but it's the $6 million that they could keep. I'm going to throw his name out there. This is the one I least expect because that's not really the Steelers thing to do. When Shazier got hurt and before he retired, they kept him around. They kept paying him. They kept giving him his contract. They honored his contract. And the Steelers are a very high-class organization. They're going to do the exact same thing for Cole Holcomb, but I could still see him potentially being a cut in the final cuts during preseason if they keep him around, depending on how far along he's come in the health progress.
Yeah, and that's what's really going to determine all for Cole Holcomb. I mean, the Steelers, they know how to handle business well. They know how to handle their players well. They never do these players dirty like that.
No.
That's not what they made their franchise out of, their organization about. That's just not the way they do things. That's not the way they handle business, not the Roonies.
No.
When it comes to Holcomb, he's one of the guys that I do look forward to seeing, how far and how well he has progressed from a gruesome injury like that, taking him out basically a season and a half out of action.
Mm-hmm.
He has not played any football since 2023. Seeing how far he's come, it's one of those things that I do look forward to, and for him to come back if the progression is right, if everything, if all the cards are in the proper order for Cole Holcomb, for him to be a part of this linebacker group of Patrick Queen, Payne Wilson, maybe even Atlanta Roberts, who I would 100% bring back and resign if I were the Steelers.
Yeah.
And then you have Cole Holcomb right there. I mean, that's a four-headed, very good linebacker room right there.
That's stacked.
I think just that alone, on paper is enticing for the Steelers on what they want to do, what they want to have at the inside linebacker room. So.
Right.
Seeing how far Cole Holcomb is, the Steelers are going to want to see how he is.
Right.
They're going to see how far and how well his progression is, recovery is, and maybe even see if he can actually make the final roster when that time comes.
Yeah, see how far along his recovery has come. I mean, I highly anticipate the Steelers to give him a whole offseason and get back and get ready. That's just the honorable thing to do. That's exactly what the Steelers have built their organization off of in terms of, just being high class and being respectful and honoring their players and being, as high class as they can be, right? I mean, no matter what, if they cut him before free agency or during the final cuts, they still save $6 million. But I'm going to throw his name out there because maybe it's just one of those things the Steelers, they might do. Maybe not immediately, but maybe later on. Maybe they don't. Maybe
they never cut him. Maybe they just put him on the reserve list again if his progression just isn't going well. But they still want to keep him with the team. They still want to give him his pay right. They still want to do the honorable thing.
Sure.
He can still be around even if injured. Steelers did that for Ryan Shazier for how many years until Shazier unfortunately had to announce his retirement?
Sure. I mean, I would love Holcomb to get as healthy as he can. I'm just going to throw his name out there because he's in the last year of his contract. Maybe it's a move the Steelers consider. We'll see what happens. Cordarrelle Patterson. This is an easy one for me because he's soon to be 30. He'll be 34 on the 17th of March. He's old. He's slow. He's just not,
Patterson brought zero impact. I'm just going to say it right now. Because I remember when the NFL made the rule change to the kickoff and whatnot, it was a big deal. And the Steelers, the same day that the NFL made the announcement, they went out and got Cordarrelle Patterson, who one day will be in the Hall of Fame because of his special teams abilities. One of the best special teamers in NFL history. I can't take anything away from Cordarrelle Patterson, what he has done in that aspect. As a Steeler, though, he brought no impact.
No, he's
simply put.
He's just too old. The Steelers would save $2.8 million and only suffer $950K of a dead cap hit. I know it's not a lot, but it's a move the Steelers should do because he's just not a guy you build around. He's not someone you keep.
Not on special teams, not at his age right now, and especially not on offense. No. Just because he's very familiar with Arthur Smith gives the Steelers zero reason to keep him around, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's just, respectfully, he's old, slow, and not really a guy you build around.
I do not want to see any more tosses to Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't.
No.
I think we've seen well enough of those this past season. I'm good.
I think we've seen well enough of the tosses in general, but we should expect more of that. But Cordarrelle Patterson should not be one of the guys that should be getting those said tosses handed to him. Montravius Adams. This is another one I don't entirely expect because I think he is a very, very good rotational piece. He's a multi-game starter for the team at this stage of his career. He's going to be a very solid rotational guy, very good in special teams, very good in the field goal units. But he's a guy the Steelers could move on from if they do want to get younger. Maybe they want to bolster the depth they would save $2.25 million if they were to cut him and suffer only a $875K dead cap hit. Again, it's not saving a lot, but it's something that they could consider. Maybe they move on. Maybe they find better depth. But I would think the Steelers would keep him. I would keep him. I think he is very, very solid depth. I've never really had a problem with Adams. I felt like when he's come in, he's done his job. He's done very solid. He's been a solid find since they snagged him from the Saints practice squad years and years and years ago. I would keep Adams around.
Yeah,
I'd let him run out his contract and give him, what he's earned.
If he were to be cut, yeah, it's just minimal savings. But, when it comes to depth at the defensive line, the Steelers, they really adore that. It's something that they want to have. And Adams has basically held that reign, held that role very well.
Yeah.
He's been a very honorable player. I would say a very quiet leader, a part of that defensive line group. And just what he's done since being a Steeler, being picked up from the Saints practice squad, like I said, just his development and just how he's progressed year after year as that rotational guy, that fill-in starter. Adams is a very capable and a solid depth player.
Agreed.
I see no reason to cut him. The minimal savings is is it really necessary? Is it really needed?
Well,
and is it worth, worsening your depth at defensive line?
I mean, probably not, but I'm also going to add in a guy like Dean Lowry, who most of you guys may have forgotten he was even on the team.
He was basically a healthy scratch, basically the majority of the season.
He was. But, the Steelers would also save a little more, over $2 million in cap space if they were to cut him, about $2.5 million if they were to cuff him and suffer another very little dead cap effect. This is something the Steelers could consider doing. Now, again, Patterson, Adams, Lowry, they're saving very little, but if you combine the three, where you can easily find probably better depth in the draft or free agency for said positions, they would still save well over $6 to $7 million in cap space. Now, I know that's not a lot, but that could go for certain depth positions, maybe in free agency. They want a better safety. They can go after a solid safety guy and give him a solid earning and use that cap space to go grab depth in free agency. Maybe same thing for running back. Same thing for, maybe receiver or offensive line or any other position. Again, they're not saving a lot between Patterson, Adams, or Lowry, but combine the cap space that they would save, that could go elsewhere. I mean, look at how cheap they got Deshaun Elliott last year. He's getting underpaid at this point with how good he played last year.
Yeah, he did.
But that goes to show you that they can get solid pieces very cheap, and that cap space that they would save from cutting certain guys, they could use that to better the team and better certain positions. Maybe they won't get a guy like Elliott all the time that cheap, but they could better a lot of depth areas.
No, I definitely agree on that. I agree that they could get better depth at running back for sure. Cut Patterson, that should be a no-brainer. Lowry, he was a healthy scratch for a lot of his Steelers career. I would cut him easily. The one guy I would keep is Adams, just because of what he's been able to do.
Right.
He's been a guy that's been taking guys under his wing. He's been teaching them. He's been helping them. He's been a contributive player on and off the field. Adams is one of those guys that I would just keep around.
In fact, if you're going to combine this entire list, if you're going to combine Ogunjobi, Sayamalu, Holcomb, Patterson, Adams, Lowry, if you're going to combine all of them, and if you had to pick who would you keep, me personally, I'm keeping Holcomb and I'm keeping Adams. I think the Steelers honor Holcomb's contract. They give him a fair chance. They give him a whole offseason to get ready and get back. And depending on how far along he's come, they could still cut him. And maybe they grab someone in free agency to fill a position just in case, right? Maybe they keep Mark Robinson around. Montravius Adams, very solid depth piece. Never had an issue with him. Everyone else, I feel like, can be very replaceable. They're already going to replace defensive line. They're going to take defensive line high in the draft. They might double dip in free agency as well. Same thing for Sayamalu. I think they could replace him. Maybe they can make a decent splash in free agency for a certain guard. Maybe they bring back James Daniels. I feel like most of these guys outside of Holcomb and Adams are pretty replaceable.
Yeah. I agree because, they can get younger at those positions. They can get better at those positions, more flashy, more speed, more strength, more youth at that.
Absolutely.
More push. You can definitely get better. You can definitely upgrade those positions. I look at those positions and the cap casualties potentially at those respective positions and players we brought up and talked about. Yeah, the Steelers can easily upgrade those positions.
For sure.
Through free agency or the draft. Maybe even both.
For sure. I think the Steelers should highly consider. And let's say the Steelers cut all of them. I don't expect them to cut all of them. But if they do cut all the guys, all the names that we listed, they would save a total of $18.5 million, which would put their total, where they're currently sitting at around $53 million. You add that 18.5, they're over roughly $7 million in cap space.
$70 million in cap space.
$70 million in cap space.
Wouldn't that be top 5?
Probably.
Maybe top 3.
I would have to look at the numbers. That would put them roughly around top 3, top 5.
The Steelers have not seen this sort of change in quite a long time.
No, I remember we were scraping the bottom of the barrel for change in the Colbert days. Now, again, I don't expect them to cut all of them or even half of these names. But it just gives you a principle. It gives you an idea how much cap space they could have and how big or how more splashes they can make in free agency, or who they could resign and how much they could pay those guys, like a Daniels, like a Fields, like a Najee maybe. I feel like the Steelers have all the tools and all the resources to not only create cap space, but, do such things with that cap space. I feel like they have all the tools to do it. They already have a decent amount, more than they've had in a long time. But, why stop there? Why not go out and go get maybe a Tevin Jenkins or re-sign a James Daniels or get a Mekhi Becton or get a Milton Williams on the defensive line?
Yeah.
Or go get a guy like Higgins or Godwin or Slayton or someone else in free agency. Just throwing it out there. You want to make serious splashes. You want to really better this team. You need impact players. The way to do that is you got to build more cap space. You have enough right now, but you can never have enough. Let's be honest. Go out and make some splashes. Seriously.
Yeah. And Khan, over the years since being GM, he's had a good bit of money and he's splurged around and getting some big names. Elliott, Queen.
He gave Patrick Queen the biggest free agency contract in Steelers history.
Yeah.
He got Sayamalo a couple years ago.
Now imagine, with how much cap space he has now, but if he were to get more, add upon more to the cap space for the Steelers, imagine, who else he could potentially get out there, because Khan has indicated and shown, hey, he's aggressive when it comes to free agency and the draft at that too.
Right.
He has brought that level to the Steelers that us Steelers fans are still not accustomed to yet. We're still trying to adapt to how Omar Khan handles his business as general manager, because Kevin Colbert never did this.
No, he was when we talk about safe, you're talking safest of the safe. It was unbelievable.
It's like other NFL teams went to the cookie jar and got the cookies, and Kevin Colbert just came back later in the night and got the crumbs.
This might be exactly. This might be a hot take for you guys. I don't like raisin cookies. I don't. But it's like all the teams would get the chocolate chip and we're left with the fake chocolate chip. That's my analogy.
No one likes the fake chocolate chip.
No one likes that. No, I mean, that's just me. It might be a hot take for some of you guys, but that's my analogy right there. The Steelers would never make splashes. And now Omar Khan, his past couple, off seasons as GM, is really starting to kind of open things up. Something, again, we're trying to get accustomed to. Well, this is an important offseason for the Steelers to better a lot of positions. And you already get a glimpse of what the Steelers need or what they want to better, which is receiver, defensive line, O-line, potentially running back, quarterback. Well, you need cap space to do all such. So they have enough to do it, but we can always create more. And this is just the cuts that we're talking about.
Yeah, the cap casualties.
This is without even talking about the potential restructures. Now, last year they restructured Highsmith's contract before the draft last year, and that's kind of all the restructures they did. So when it comes to restructures, I wouldn't exactly anticipate a lot, but these are certain names that we're going to list that maybe they should consider. At the top of the list is mainly Minkah Fitzpatrick. Love Minkah. I do. I'm very thankful for him. I witnessed a lot of bad safety play after Polamalu left. I am grateful for Minkah Fitzpatrick, but does he deserve to carry a $22.355 million cap hit? Is he worth that?
Over the past 2 years and what he has not really brought to the table, no, not exactly. He is not worth over $22 million.
They should highly consider restructuring his contract. They cannot go into the season with Minkah carrying a $22.355 million cap hit. And in 2026, he covers damn near $25 million of a cap hit.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my goodness.
I would highly consider maybe extending him a year to cut out that cap space or just restructuring it full out. That's what they should do. I don't know if they actually will because, again, the Steelers have enough cap space. They can make some more cuts, and they don't even have to worry about restructures in that aspect. What they used to do is just restructure as many contracts. Now they don't even have to worry about restructuring. They can if they have to, maybe to create more cap space after free agency so that they have enough cap space, enough room to make a move if they can or if they have to before the draft, after the draft, during the training camp process. Omar Khan is always going to want extra cap space or space in case a move needs to happen. But that could be after the draft. That could be before the draft. That could be after free agency where they do the restructures. They're not really reliant on the restructures like they used to be. But it's another way to create more cap space, and a guy like Minkah should definitely be offered or asked or definitely approached about a restructure
Yeah,
or a new contract.
No, Steelers definitely need to consider restructuring Minkah's contract. I love Minkah, and maybe it's not all on Minkah's play because Terrell Austin likes to use a lot of high single safeties and whatnot. So Minkah is primarily, just sitting back there, just rubbing his feet. He's not really doing anything. All Minkah's doing, I will say that about the single high safeties, is preventing the deep ball from being attacked. He's locking down the deep part of the field.
Yeah. He's eliminating the deep threats.
But does that help the Steelers? Is that providing the Steelers with better defense? No, it's not.
No, because they're not winning with the 4-man rush all the time. The cover corners are pretty rough, and they're left out there to dry because they don't have double safety help.
No, they don't.
It's just he's kind of out there playing cleanup most of the time, essentially.
But even then, Minkah's still not bringing, the Minkah ball that, like we all expect Minkah to bring because of what he did in his earlier Steelers career.
Yes.
He's not really bringing that level of impact, that level of play. He's not really living up to his contract, so to speak.
No, and again, maybe that's not all his fault because, you look at when Keith Butler was here and when Terrell Austin took over, there is a certain difference with the defense. I feel like they won a lot with pressure, and that's where the secondary made a ton of plays. And that's obviously not evident right now because the defense is so basic. But regardless, the production he's bringing on the field and inconsistencies in coverage, I don't think he deserves the $22.355 million cap hit. He should definitely be approached about a restructure or a potential new contract. Alex Highsmith, I think, was the sole guy that received a restructure last year right before the draft. It goes to show you how much they restructure contracts now. But he covers a cap hit of 18.6. I don't think the Steelers are going to touch that. And plus, they just restructured his contract last year. They're going to restructure his contract a second straight year. I don't know. I highly doubt it, but it's an option. Pat Freiermuth, if there's a guy that could definitely be restructured, it's him because his contract is so fresh. What the Steelers do is they give these guys contracts. They give these guys, the bag. And then a year after the extension, they kind of restructure the contract and give them more money for the upcoming season, turn it into a signing bonus, and then use that cap space for whatever is necessary. Pat Freiermuth will probably be a guy that will receive a restructure because his contract is so fresh. So I could see that happening. But outside of that, I don't know who else could receive a restructure. I doubt they touch Watt's contract. I doubt they do that. I doubt they do that with Patrick Queen. So if there's two guys they might touch, it's probably Minkah as a recommendation and Freiermuth only because his contract is so fresh.
Yeah. But I don't think, you said Watt, I don't think they touch his contract because they're actually trying to lock him down and make him a Steeler for life.
Yeah.
That's their approach. Or Rooney said that in his end of season press conference. That's one of the goals that they're trying to do. Right. I would anticipate that happening in the later part of the summer, probably before training camp is over. That's what I see. That's what I envision. But I don't see Watt's contract being touched. Freiermuth is a very likely option. Highsmith, what was it you said? Was it 18.6?
18.6, yeah.
I could see maybe a minimal restructure if they desire to. But, I mean, Highsmith, he's a very impactful player opposite of Watt. Like when Highsmith was out, now Herbig had a great spot filling in. He played very good filling in, but you just see the level of impact that Highsmith brings as far as his pass rush win rates. Like he's just a very, very good pass rusher and run stopper at that.
He gets a ton of pressures. He's great in the run defense, and him and Watt didn't play a lot of games this past season. Remember that.
Yeah.
So I doubt they touch Highsmiths, but I think Minkah and Freiermuth will probably be approached about.
Yeah, I think they're the more likely scenarios, especially Minkah.
But those are just other ways they could create cap space. So when you look at all this, the Steelers have a ton of ways to create a lot of cap space to make some significant splashes and grab some immediate playmakers on this team, which we know they need in a lot of areas. They have all the tools. They have all the resources. It's just a matter of them putting them to use and putting them properly.
Yeah, so right now they are looking at maybe a little over $53 million in cap space just by releasing Preston Smith. But there's the possibility that if they were to make more restructures or cap casualties, we're possibly looking at the Steelers going into free agency with maybe a little over $70 million.
I would say a minimum over 60, 65 million. They could very well be working with a decent amount. Again, go make some splashes. Receiver, defensive line, O-line potentially. You obviously got to pay a quarterback at some point. They have what they have to make moves. It's just a matter of them actually getting to work. But they've already started getting to work. The first move of what will be many has already happened. They cut Preston Smith. That gives them over 50 now. But why stop there? I would highly entertain the idea of doing something with some of these names we mentioned, like Ogunjobi or Sayamalu or Patterson, or, restructures, like we mentioned with Minkah, or maybe Highsmith, maybe Freiermuth. These are just ways that they could really just add more into what they can do in free agency. So just throwing it out there. If there's any other names you guys think that could get cut or they could get restructured, let us know down in the comments below. Love to hear your guys' opinions and your interactions as always, or any of your ideas. But the Steelers, they currently set over $53 million. And by the time free agency hits in less than a month's time, they could be looking at a little more over 60. And that's before they resign anybody. That's before they make any other moves. I mean, we'll see what happens because they still want to bring back Russ. They still want to bring back Fields, one of the two. They have other free agents they might want to bring back, maybe Roberts, like we said, Najee, Daniels. We'll see what happens. All we know is that the first move of many has started, and that's just going to be the first domino of what will be an entire pile to come down.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers, they still got a lot of work to do.
They do, and
the work is far from over.
Appreciate you guys for watching as always. Shout out to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sponsoring with us on this video. Again, check them out if you guys are looking for NFL future odds or anything regarding any other sports, maybe the NBA or the NHL. They got all that stuff for you, man. When you go to BetUS, make sure you use that promo code YouTube150 to receive a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% on your next two deposits using that promo code and receiving all the casino bonuses as well. So huge shout out to BetUS. Appreciate them for sponsoring with us as always. Appreciate you guys for watching. At the end of the day, here we go, Steelers. See you in the next one.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!